So to give you guys a heads up, you guys know that we do tons of Hedera ecosystem interviews through Genfinity on a pretty much a weekly basis, and releasing all that content. I think we're going to try to start moving those towards more of a Twitter Spaces aspect, and get some of these projects on, because obviously a lot of the community is on Twitter. It might be a mixed bag. We might still be doing some of the video interview type stuff as well. But for us, I mean, it just kind of makes sense. Everybody's here already. We can still record these. We could still push out content around them. I know, excited to have Tyler from Upside Co-op and Batty Hattie from Hedera, the Hedera ecosystem here today. So this is kind of the first one that we're doing in a Twitter Spaces way. So definitely want to. I want to allow, I think, within this, like it to kind of be just a natural conversation, as well as just kind of ask some targeted questions to each of the individual projects that we have up here as well. So, all right. So I think we're going to get started here, though. So I guess to start with, to give you guys a little bit of a background, as I already stated, we do tons of Hedera ecosystem interviews. We're going to start kind of moving them towards Twitter Spaces around this time. Every Monday. And yeah, so super excited to have Batty Hattie and Tyler from Upside Co-op today. I guess we'll start with who had the first slot. I think it was you, Batty, for today. So, and again, open forum. So Tyler or Batty, if you guys see synergy or you want to inject or ask questions, I mean, feel free to do that as well. But Batty, if you could give us maybe a brief overview and introduction into yourself, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name's Batty, and I'm part of Batty Hattie's NFT Emporium. Hattie is my daughter, and I'll sort of go into a little bit in more detail, I suppose, how we came to be in a little while, I suppose. But about myself, I'm an educator. I've been in the education system for a couple of decades. Started off in construction actually as a young lad, but re-educated myself, and yeah, so essentially we are a family-run project, and we focus in on raising awareness of social mental health issues through creativity, education, and fun. And we look to onboard new people into the ecosystem with a key focus on young people, and we try and share our journey through that process. So, I mean, I might as well just go into how I came into Web3 and how we kind of formed the Emporium, really. So, for me as an educator, I like to try and learn something new all the time. And many years ago, I was watching a documentary about the Silk Road, and this thing called Bitcoin popped up. And I think at the time, Bitcoin was cents or a few dollars. Didn't think nothing of it, but something caught my ear in terms of a digital wallet, but I didn't know what that meant. Roll on a few years and Bitcoin's at $100, $200. And again, I hear this thing and I'm not really bothered about it. And other things were more interesting to me. And then all of a sudden, the kind of first bull run, if you like, happened, and Bitcoin was thousands of dollars. And at that point, I was like, well, what is a digital wallet? What is this? What is this thing? And I happened to just come across it at one of the first meetups in New York for Hashgraph at the time. And it was Mance and Lehman and a few early investors, I think, before it was Hedera, watched this meetup. And I generally watch something new every day, just to try and learn. And that led me on to Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money. And I'm a stereotypical H-barbarian who's had that journey through Mike Maloney. And not only did I learn about what a digital wallet was, and I learned about Bitcoin, but I actually learned about this thing called Hashgraph. And this was my moment, if you like, to get the opportunity that I'd missed before with Bitcoin. Because even when it was $1,000, I mean, I'm an educator, I don't earn lots of money, but I scrimped and scraped every penny I could, got together. You know, I fundamentally resonated with Mance and Lehman from day one, just the way they conducted themselves, the way they spoke. And then when I was part of the trials with Daily Timestamp, so for those people that are new to Hedera or in the community now, originally you get your Hedera wallet, and you would be able to look at articles on the line, and you would earn HBAR. And that preceded kind of launch day. Launch day, I got quite badly burnt because I might have been educated, but I was a really bad investor. Luckily, the 1 cent days allowed me to do this thing I'd never heard of before, which is dollar cost average, which meant that actually I was able to kind of limit the damage. But again, it was a question of scrimping and scraping every penny I could, because I just believed in this technology and I believed in this company. About the same time as that journey, my daughter Hattie, who was probably 6 or 7 at the time, started to suffer from quite debilitating anxiety. And when we started as a project, we didn't share this. It was only later on when we felt comfortable within the community that we shared it. And everything I share today, Hattie is more than happy for me to share. She's a great advocate for sharing our story, because every little helps. And I do so freely, and I do so with her consent. So it's her story to tell, and she's happy for me to share it. So she started to suffer from anxiety. She loves school. She loves being in with her friends. And she would get really anxious and have sleepless nights. And some days she'd be physically sick at the school gate. And she's a brave girl, and she would dust herself off, have a few tears, walk into school, get through the day, come home, be happy that she'd had a great day, and then the cycle would start again. And as an educator, I felt helpless. As a parent, and my wife, who's amazing, what have we done? What haven't we done? What could we do? And I started to delve really deeply into mental health issues, especially as an educator, because it wasn't just my daughter, it was affecting other people. And I could actually see on the ground young people starting to suffer from anxiety and depression more. So I did more research, and while I'm here and I've got the platform, I'll share a few statistics just to kind of capture what is a global issue. And bear in mind, since COVID, these statistics have risen by about 25 to 30%. So in 2019, 1 in every 8 people, that's 970 million people across the world, have suffered from a mental health disorder. 301 suffer from anxiety, 280 million from depression. And in terms of children, anxiety alone, it equates to 58 million children. And that was 2019, pre-COVID. So add that 25%, that's a huge number. And depression, it's around 23 million. So I knew that I had to help my daughter. I didn't want her to be left with no strategies. And there's no traumatic event that led to that, those feelings and that mental health issue. It was just what it was. So I did my reading. I found out about exercise, creativity, fun, play, whatever we could do. We threw the kitchen sink at this thing. And at the start, we tried to deal with it ourselves. And we would sit across the table. We would draw, do scribble monsters, which I know King Solomon's done with his daughter. We would just use art and creativity as a forum for how are you feeling, how's everything going, what's going on, to try and explore emotions and feelings. Through that journey as an educator, I learned that actually there is a systemic issue globally, especially with young people, and the fact they're bombarded on a daily basis. We get in a day the equivalent of 6 months worth of information, which people got in the 60s, for instance. Young people are more engaged with electronic devices, and there's downsides to that. But we created, eventually we went on to get more professional support and help, and we were fortunate enough to do that. And one of our drivers is the fact that, we want to share our journey to highlight the things you can do to try and help and support and be aware of those issues. I myself have had mental health issues. I was quite significantly assaulted earlier on in my career. I kept it to myself for a few years. And then I met a guy that I work with called Mac. He's from Trinidad. I call him Mr. Sunshine. And to cut a long story short, essentially, we went out for a coffee. He got me pinned down for a coffee at this really busy coffee shop. And there were 2 seats left. And we sat next to a couple who were on their first date, if you like. And within about 5 minutes, Mac was literally holding me up off the floor. And I had my breakdown. Ruined their date, which I feel really sorry for. Went home, spoke to my wife, said, yeah, I know you've not been yourself for a while. And it all came back down to kids. So I appreciate that sharing is really important, and that's why we do what we do. So yeah, we move forward. And part of learning, I said to Hattie, look at this, CryptoPunk. Look at this. This is going for like $60,000, etc. And she was like, well, what's an NFT? So we started to learn about that. And we then, well, she said, well, why don't you put your pixel art on as NFTs? Just as an experiment, let's see what's going to happen. So we did. So we launched our, if you like, the artwork that I'd worked on Go Mint, and Batty Hattie's NFT Emporium was formed, and her artwork was left to one side. We didn't know if we wanted to put that out there or what was going on, so that's for her to decide. So we were very fortunate enough that the community embraced us, and we hadn't really shared our story fully, completely, at that point. And that came out as we progressed. So yeah, we had our H bears and hash blobs and things like that, Muddle Earth, and we were having fun. And yeah, things took off. And I remember being in spaces with Tom Bassor from HBar Space, and he said, look, before you know it, you're going to be doing merch and you're going to have a community. And I didn't have a clue. We didn't know anything about that. And as it turns out, here we are now with exactly that. So we really focused our ethos and culture on sharing our journey and highlighting those mental and social health issues. And we've been learning along the way. Education is so important. Having fun and being creative is fun. And we got to a point last year where we collaborated with some amazing people in the community. We were educating ourselves on how to build and be part of this amazing ecosystem that we're in.